Thank you, man. That was fantastic. We're here today to have a Veterans Day Assembly, and one of the things you need to realize is who's a veteran. A veteran is a former member of the armed services of the military, branches that include the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, Space Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard. Veterans may have served during war or peace. Perhaps you have family members at this time. Students, if your parents have served or are serving, please stand. Let's give them a round of applause. You may now be seated. It's really cool when you use your manners. I'd like for you to do that. Thank you. Your veteran population. Did you know 15.8 million people? That's how many veterans were over the age of 18 in 2023, representing 6.1% of the total population. 1.7 million of those are females. 0.6% of the veterans are all the veterans that are left that served in World War II. 3.5% of the veterans that served in Korea are still alive. 33% of the vets that served in Vietnam are still alive. 27.9% of the veterans are 75 and older. What is Veterans Day? Veterans Day is a day that commemorates the end of a war. It was when the German and the Allied nations signed a temporary truce. It was signed on the 11th month, the 11th hour of the 11th day. We now celebrate Veterans Day on November 11th. In 1938, it became a federal holiday. At this time, we would like to recognize the people in the audience who have served. Mr. Barrett's award-winning band is going to play the medley song. When you hear your song, stand and wave.
Okay. All right. Can you hear me, everybody? Listen. Listen. We're going to play the service songs, okay? And I'm going to announce each song, each service. So, like, if you hear the Coast Guard, you know somebody that's in the Coast Guard. When I say that, stand up. After the song is over with, I'm going to announce the next one. So you're going to hear the Coast Guard, you're going to hear the Air Force, you're going to hear the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Army. We also have a service called the Space Force, but we don't have that song yet. They got it, but we don't have it. So I'm going to just say they're also a branch of the service now, the Space Force. Okay, does everybody got it? All right, so if you know somebody that's in one of these songs, you stand up, and then after the song is over with, sit down. Some of y'all might stand up 3 and 4 times. All right, we're gonna do it. Service method. One, two, three, the Coast Guard. The Air Force. The United States Navy. The United States Marine Corps. The United States Army. Thank you. Y'all did great.
That was great. Thank you. Now I would like to begin by sharing a few fun facts about some of our own EMS staff. Miss Stecco's father and grandfathers are both in the Army, and her favorite place was when they moved to Germany. Mr. Williams, him and his father both served, and his favorite place was also Germany. Miss Terry was in the U.S. Marine Corps along with her husband and her sons. And a fun fact about her is one night she was having a dream and thought it was the paparazzi, and they were actually coming to wake her up. Mr. and Mrs. Barrett served in the United States Army in the Army Band for 29 years. During this time, their favorite duty station was South Korea. Miss Howard's dad had to be given a special duty assignment so she would be able to graduate high school. Miss Price was an Army brat, and they lived all over the world. Here's a fun fact. She went to Frankfurt American Junior High in Germany with Miss Howard. Her favorite duty station was definitely Europe. Miss McDonald's husband was in the Army when they first got married, and she says the Army, it made them both better people, and her favorite part was his uniform. Miss Hall, 6th grade Miss Hall, the lady in red back there. She was in the Air Force, and when she got orders to go where she was supposed to go for training, it said Annie, and she thought that was New England. Bless her heart, she had to use a map to find Nebraska. Even better was when her brother got stationed here, and her dad was his first sergeant. Mr. Reiser, while serving in the U.S. Army. Between his father's 25 years in the Army and Mr. Reiser's 27 years in the Army, he had the privilege to travel all over the world and have all kinds of cultures introduced to him. Mr. Carter, over there on the wall, his favorite part was the friendships and the experience he's had. He served as an Armory Cavalry Scout and then served in the Army's historic 101st Airborne Division, where he had the honor of training future Army Rangers. Miss Turner's father was a helicopter pilot. And when they were doing trainings and he would fly across the playground, all the kids got excited. Melody, there's your dad. Mr. Kimbrell served in the U.S. Marine Corps. His favorite part was being aboard the U.S. Iwo Jima and when he was in the Mediterranean Sea and being in Italy. Mr. Angel in the middle. He served in the U.S. Army, and his experience as a gunnery instructor made him a prime time person to come teach middle school math. My favorite part growing up was my mom worked for the Air Force for 38 years. And we always had extra airmen at the house during the holidays because they couldn't always afford to go home. And I could con these people into losing all kinds of games that they always had to wash and dry the dishes. We have many other staff who are military connected. These are the staff that offered to share their stories with me. At this time, I would like to introduce our guest. Mr. Ross joined the Army in 1985. He served 20 years to include serving in Israel during Desert Storm. Please hold your applause. And Kuwait during Operation Iraqi Freedom. He's worked for the Department of Defense for 39 years, married to his wonderful wife, 3 daughters and a son, and he has a wonderful grandkid. Please give him your attention. Here is Mr. Richard Ross.
Good morning. Good morning. How are y'all? First, I'd like to thank Miss Holland for inviting me. Sorry about that. I really don't need it. Okay, good morning. How are y'all? All right. First, let me start off by saying thanks to Miss Holland for inviting me here. It's a great privilege to come out and talk to all you great young people about what being a veteran is all about. Let me start off. I was telling Miss Holland this joke, and I will see how it flies with you guys, okay? What month of the year do veterans hate the most? Okay, I'll let y'all. I'll let y'all know. All right. Okay. Actually, it is March. Soldiers hate to march. They hate to march, but it's something they have to do, to get from A to B, right? Okay. I was going to talk a little bit about the history of Veterans Day, and Miss Holland kind of took some of my talking points away. But anyway, Veterans Day has not always been called Veterans Day. It was originally called Amnesty Day. It was a day that President Woodrow Wilson declared Amnesty Day at the end of World War I. Right? Like Ms. Holland said, the treaty was signed on the 11th hour, 11th day of the 11th month. That's why we always celebrate Veterans Day on the 11th of November. Now, after World War II, Dwight D. Eisenhower, the president, declared, he amended the official day to be called Veterans Day because originally amnesty was the day that they signed the treaty, but the president decided that that day should be for all veterans, of all wars. Okay, so that's why today we celebrate it as Veterans Day on the 11th of November. I was surprised to see how many people here actually have family members that are in the military, because like Ms. Holland said, not a lot of people are veterans in the United States. Like she said, only like 6% of the population actually were veterans. So to have so many people here that are associated with the military and their parents are veterans, that's just amazing. And the variety, the Air Force. All right, like I was saying, it's amazing to see how many veterans or people that are associated with veterans are here today. I mean, that's a great good thing that your parents are doing, as far as showing you what the importance is of us having armed forces today. The numbers are getting smaller and smaller every year. Less people are wanting to serve in the military, and it's just we need to reinforce into our young kids that there's a very much need for an armed forces that's willing to protect the United States of America. Right now, all our military forces are all volunteers. There's no draft. There's no law that says when you turn 18, you have to join the armed forces. It's because of these people that volunteer and serve in the military that we, enjoy the freedoms that we have today, where we don't have to worry about having fights and wars come to our land, where we can take care of them in other lands. So I just wanted to emphasize how important it is that we, honor our veterans that we have today, because there are so many of us, and that when you see a veteran, you should, say thank you for, protecting me and keeping us free. So, I mean, that's all I really have to say about, Veterans Day. It's a great honor to be a veteran. And hopefully when y'all get a little older and y'all start thinking about what y'all want to do, after you get out of school and everything, you might think about the armed forces and, serving something that's a little bit bigger than us. With that, I'll just say thank you.
Can you come up here? EMS. At this time, I would like to give Mr. Richard Ross an EMS coin. Has the Viking on it. Please give him a round of applause.